Hello, book friends. Terry from Terry Talks Books, or Ms. Terry B, here on YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing a chat video. I just want to talk to you a little bit about something that's been on my mind. I was going to do a video titled Why I Love BookTube, or a series of fortunate events, or maybe more appropriately, a series of serendipitous events. So I'll come back to that, but that really is something part of a bigger topic. And I thought, I think I want to talk about this idea of my why. You have heard me in the past month or so mention knowing my why for being here on YouTube a few times. And it first came up when I did a response video to one of Shelley Swearingen's video. I will link her channel below, about booktubers who disappear. And then she did a follow-up video about booktubers who stay. Why do people stay? It was a great video. Go back and watch that video. And I decided, you know what? I need to respond to that. I felt very strongly that I needed to respond to that because, as I said, I have been on BookTube for 16 years. And at the time, I think I had about 600 and some followers. It has grown since that video. There are 900 and some now, so thank you to anyone new here. I appreciate you subscribing and being a part of the BookTube community and coming to watch my videos and leave comments. So welcome to you. And of course, always welcome back to my subscribers. Some of you have been here for such a long time, and some of you have even been here since before I started making videos. You are part of my little community that I belonged to when I did book blogging. So maybe some mentioning of that a little bit further down the road here in this video. But in that video, one of the things I mentioned was, well, one of the reasons I'm still here is because it's because I know my why. I know why I'm here. So even though it's been 16 years, even though at the time I had 600 and some subscribers to my channel, I was still here. And that kind of begs the question, why? Why are you still here? Some people have quit much sooner over less than that. So why are you still here? So I thought, I need to address that. And so I will link that video, my response video, below, so you can go back and take a look at that if you haven't seen it yet. But anyway, in there I mentioned, part of that is because I know my why. But then I didn't tell you exactly what my why was. A little bit. I addressed it a little bit, but I never really focused on that, telling you the why or the whys. I just said, it's because I know them. I know my why. And since then, I've made a few videos where I just use that phrase, well, I know my why. That is something I had to learn. I had to learn to be a little bit more organized. Just in my professional life, I couldn't just fly by the seat of my pants. I love to fly by the seat of my pants. I'm also a big procrastinator. I like to plan and I don't like to plan. It's a weird combination. And so I had to learn some things like just how far can I push this procrastination thing and still do a good job? Still get that A if I'm in school, so to speak. And one of the things I found that helps me think through things and to keep my focus where it needs to be is to know my why. I ask myself that about all sorts of things now. It's just kind of a habit with me. What is your why, Terry? Why do you want to do that? Why? And knowing that, yeah, it really does. It helps you to sort things out. So I thought, well, I'm going to make a video and talk about what my why is. With that said, because I've been here since 2009, it's a two-parter, so to speak. What was my why when I started my channel? And of course it's evolved, it's changed over time, it's morphed a bit. And then what is my why now? They're similar but not exactly the same. So let me go back. Let's go back in the way back machine here to 2009 when I started the channel. I put up 2 videos and then I disappeared until 2011. What was that about? Well, this talking about books on YouTube, doing anything on YouTube, was pretty new. It was fairly new back then. Not everybody was doing this. A lot of us had been doing blogging. There were bloggers for just about everything. I did personal blogging and then I did book blogging. But I started seeing videos. People would embed videos within their blogs. And once I figured out that they had a channel on YouTube, later Rumble and some other places, but on YouTube, I thought, oh, so I went over to the YouTube channel and go, oh, this is a whole other thing. That's interesting. And they, oh, look at that, they're embedding. Oh, I can embed. So in 2009, what I was doing was just experimenting a little bit, and apparently I experimented for the length of 2 videos. It was a part 1 and a part 2. You know, same hair, same clothes, same location. It was just apparently I considered it too long, split it into 2. I did have a why. I was exploring. Then when I came back in 2011, I did a few videos and then I realized I never introduced myself. I was seeing people introduce themselves. Like, hi, I'm so-and-so, this is who I am, this is what I like to do, this is why I'm here. I'd never done that. I just showed up and started talking about books. No introduction. I'm just this person who calls herself Ms. Terry B. And apparently I talk about books. Okay. And so I decided to make an introductory video, and I did that. It's still up, as are the 2 from 2009. And the first thing I noticed when I look at it, my hair was really brown. That's changed. But I went and I watched that video. It's very short. It's just a little over 2 minutes. It was back when I knew how to make short videos. I don't know what happened to me. Anyway, I watched that, and then I looked at what I'd written in the description box, and here's what I wrote. Here's, if you can see it. You can't see it very well because it's got a big arrow in the middle of my face and I'm doing something funny and didn't know how to position my laptop. Kind of looking up my nose. We'll get back to that later. But anyway, I wrote, I thought it was time I introduced myself. I'm a librarian who loves to read books and then talk about them nonstop. Since my friends and family get kind of tired of me yammering about what I'm reading all the time, I've created both a blog and a YouTube channel where I can share my passion without boring everyone around me to tears. My blog is called Terry Talks Books, and I'd love it if you visit me there as well. Now, be careful of the link there. One of them will not take you to my blog. The blog is still there, but at one time I owned the domain and it was just terrytalksbooks.com, but it's actually terrytalksbooks.blogspot.com. And I do link that below in the description box of all my videos now, but if you go back, you might run into the version where I owned the domain, so don't use that. It won't go anywhere. But if you want to look at my blog, terrytalksbooks.blogspot.com, and it will be linked below as per usual. But anyway, did you hear the why? Did you hear the why that was in there? It wasn't the only why, but the one that I really focused on there had to do with needing people to talk to. about books, because I can talk endlessly about books and about my reading and anything tangential to that. I could just talk about that almost exclusively. So I needed to do that somewhere besides Thanksgiving dinner with the family and friends, where I would just bore people to tears. It's like, oh no, here she comes. Don't ask her what she's been reading. You'll regret it. So, yeah, I had to learn. You be careful with that. You know, not everybody, that's just, they don't get it. They don't understand. You all do. You all understand. And that was one of the things I wrote down. When I was going to do a little bit more of a focus on why I love books, or why, not why I love books, but why I love BookTube. One of the things I wrote down here was, I can say things like, I only read 4 books this month. And you'll get it. You all get it. Family and friends think I'm nuts, a weirdo, because they think they have read a lot if they read 2 entire books during the last year. That is just typical for a lot of people, a lot of educated people too. You know, they just, this 4 books a month, it's like, what's up? How are you, don't you have a job? Don't you have things to do? What you doing? Laying on the couch eating potato chips and smoking cigarettes and drinking Cokes and reading grocery store novels? And I'm not dissing grocery store novels, because there's some fun stuff out there, by the way. Not really talking any specific books or book genres, but I use that as an illustration of the picture people have of me. I'm like, what you think it's like, clearly, I leave the house, I have a job and I work about 60 hours a week. But I read, yes, even then I was reading at least 4 books a month, sometimes 5. That's typical for me as a reader. Some people read a lot more. Some people read about that. Some people read fewer than that. That's fine. But I mean, I couldn't even say I read 4 books last month without getting this, like, what's wrong with you? What a waste of time. So see, I can talk to y'all about this and I don't get that response. It's great. So that was part of the why. I needed a place to do that. And, and I'm not a weirdo, to you all, this is not weird. You all want to talk about books as much as I want to talk about books and reading. It's just not weird. So that was in my why back then. The why that I didn't really talk about, I think in a video here or there, I probably mentioned it. But another part of my why was I was using it as a sandbox. Things were changing very quickly. People started using the internet, then social media came along. We started blogging, we started tweeting, I don't even know what order these things went in at this point. And then we started making videos. We could all be celebrities, and put our faces out there and talk about whatever we wanted to talk about. And it just got easier and easier to do. Well, because of what I did as a profession, as an academic librarian, I kind of needed to keep up with a lot of that technology that was out there, different ways of connecting with people, different ways of teaching using the technology. I found it very valuable to film myself, to record myself, and see how many times I did or I'd fallen back in that habit. I kind of broke myself of that for many years, public speaking, teaching, things like that. So I'm kind of back to that, unfortunately. And then now the additional thing of online learning, we're always being recorded. Most people are being recorded, or they record themselves for their job, for whatever, and some of us did not grow up with that. That is not normal for us. And so I needed to learn to speak to a camera and not look at myself on the screen like I'm doing right now. See how I'm not really looking at you? You can tell. Sometimes people have additional screens around them, and they may have a screen over here, and they're looking at themselves on this screen. That's really, I really don't look like I'm looking at you now. What I need to look at is that silly little dot right there. And if I look at that, I look like I'm looking at you. It becomes more personal. See, I had to learn things like that. And then to just hearing yourself and seeing yourself, this is just awkward for some of us. This does not come naturally to us, especially if we're older. And so I needed to practice, but I wanted to practice doing something fun, because I knew I was going to have to do a lot of this on my own time. So I thought, well, then how can I learn how to do this and have some fun, something I want to do? So I started talking about books. And we've just gone on from there. So yes, I used it as a sandbox. So my why back then was to use it as a sandbox to learn. Primarily it was for professional purposes at the time, not necessarily just personal learning, but professional learning. But I wanted some fun way to do that. And also then a place, an outlet. I needed an outlet. So that was really my why. Over the years, as I've kind of come and gone a number of times, I've always come back. The why has slowly changed. It wasn't so much about it being a sandbox, a place for me to play with the technology and skills, you know, speaking to the little dot and to sound like I'm actually chatting with you all, talking with you. I needed to be able to do that. So after a while, you know, I could do that. I didn't really need to practice it, but so it wasn't so much about the sandbox. Occasionally I'd use it to experiment a little bit, to learn how to do editing and things like that, which was a different thing. It was fun, not fun. You know, no, I have not been editing. There's a few reasons for that. And I will have to go back to using this a little bit as a sandbox, because I need to relearn some things. Some things have changed. My software has changed, and iMovie is doing, I can't for the life of me. I decided to do some editing out of the blue. I thought, I'm going to go dump this in my iMovie editor, and just, you know, I misspoke and I wanted to put something on the screen. And there were some things that were easier, and then I couldn't figure out, I don't know, I'm going to have to watch some tutorials and see what my problem is, but I couldn't get things to expand enough for me to find the timings. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off here, but you can see how I might still use this as a sandbox. And of course, I still need it as a place to endlessly talk about books and reading. And so this is still a good part of my why. But I have realized over time, so now we're getting closer to what is my why now? Okay, so it's still a little bit of the sandbox. It's still, you know, I need an outlet. I need a place to talk to people who get it and who are readers and don't think I'm weird when I talk about these things. But I started realizing I was really using this. I used my blog for this purpose as well, as a reading journal. The difficult thing for me now is that I don't really have a physical written journal for a number of years, because I've been kind of keeping it, for a while I had my blog. I still have the blog, but I don't post there. I need to resurrect that. Tell me what you think about that. Take a look at it, terrytalksbooks.blogspot.com. Tell me what you think in the comments. I have thought about resurrecting that because I do like to write. It's a different thing. But I would like to have a written record, and at least with the blog I can maybe print those out or copy and paste or keep things someplace where I have a good written record. So I don't have a written reading journal. and I want to go back to that some, but I was using it as that. So it's a really great record as I am, I'm able to go back and find my book reviews. What did I think about that specific book? What was my thinking on that? And some of those, I didn't do a very good job. For myself, I don't think I did a very good job always capturing that, but it is a record and I like having that. And I think I'm going to find a way to blend these two together. I'll talk about that in a second, but that is a part of my why. That is a part of my why. And then the community aspect has been a part of my why. Needing an outlet is, and then I have a community in which to do that. But I didn't realize just how much I like that. And since I'm retired from my profession, my time is a little bit more flexible. And I have realized how much the community aspect means. And just growth, personal growth. I have learned, I don't always take myself seriously or understand my own value. And so some of that community aspect has changed because I understand the value. I better understand the value of the community and my place in it. So you've maybe noticed I've decided to take that more seriously. I've been trying to get around and comment more. I've been trying to let you know if I'm not going to be here. And I've been trying to be a little bit more consistent. I'm trying to think about you all. There was the benefit of the community to me, but I'm trying to think, what is the benefit to others, and to kind of work through that. And I think some of that's just, part of my own life process here of changing and learning. And I just realized how important that is, and better understood my place in the community. So yeah, it's become pretty important, and that is a good part of why I have stuck around. There have always been at least the few people who just stuck with me and have always been there, and we talk. And that's enough. That has been enough for me. So yeah, it's why I'm still here. It's a good part of my why, and I enjoy it very, very much. There's some wonderful serendipitous things that have happened. That was another part of the why I love BookTube, right? Or a series of fortunate events. I just love some of the serendipity that happens, and some of the just wonderful reconnections and surprises that happen. And nobody's actually trying to do any of these things, and they just happen, and it's so fun. So for instance that I was going to use, I've been able to reconnect with two people from my way back days, book blogging days, the Wayback Machine. And one of them, it was because Shelley Swearingen had she'd talked about my channel. And in that video, she mentioned my channel, and then she talked about Priscilla's channel. Hi, Priscilla. Priscilla is Evening Reader, and so I will link her below. But she talked about my channel and Priscilla's channel. And so, of course, when that kind of thing happens, you have to go check the other person out, right? When someone mentions, different, hey, I'm enjoying this, and I'm shouting them out, I go take a look. And one of the things that happened was that Priscilla came into the comments and said, I know Terry. I've known Terry since book blogging days. And I went, what? Hey, wait, what? What happened here? And so I went, I was on my way over and went over and watched a couple of Priscilla's videos. And it turns out I was following her on Instagram, but I hadn't seen any. I didn't even realize I was following her. How long have I been following her on Instagram? Instagram has its own algorithm, and it's not feeding me things. Priscilla was posting, but I was not seeing any of her posts, and there's a whole bunch of others that Instagram has decided I need to see, you know, animal rescue instead. Well, yeah, that's an interest, but my goodness gracious, whatever happened to all the people I'm actually following? Where are all my book people? Where'd they go to? You'd think I only care about, you know, elephants and horses and, you know, rescue, wildlife rescue. Yeah, it's an interest, but goodness gracious, where did all my friends go? And so I thought, why wasn't I following her on YouTube? Did I not know she was there? So I have no idea what happened there, but anyway, we're reconnected. That is absolutely wonderful. And you know, so yeah, like we're chatting over there on Shelly's channel in the comments, reconnecting and having, you know, the reunion party in the comments, which I don't think Shelly minds one bit, but thank you, Shelly. And then just through people commenting there, I think I managed to reconnect with Sui. Now I'm going to have to just link her below. I can't remember the name of her channel, and I had not been following her, and I don't know what happened, because I can remember we were book blogging, we were probably on Twitter, but we go way back to the book blogging days and to things like when Dewey's Readathon first started. Dewey's 24-hour readathon, I think it's still a going concern, but you know, different people hosting it now, but we were there when that started. Dewey was a book blogger. We only knew her as Dewey. This was back in the day when you didn't really tell people who you were, where you lived, or anything like that. And you used to, you know, you didn't use your real name at all. And she passed away. She was a real community builder in the book blogging community. She was fabulous. And so I was there for a part of the time she was. And then when she passed away, the Dewey's 24-hour readathon began as, you know, just a way to remember and honor Dewey and her bringing people together. She loved doing that. And so that's, you know, we go way back to that, however long ago that was. So I reconnected with Sui, and yeah, so wonderful serendipitous things like that have happened, and that's a part of the whole part of the community and a part of my why. So anyway, I hope that was clear enough, you know, what my whys are. They're pretty basic. They're pretty simple. They probably shouldn't have taken me 28 minutes or so here to talk about, but you know me when I get going with a chat. So I think I'll wrap it up here. And leave me some comments. If you don't have anything to say, leave me an emoji, one of those waving emojis, hi, smiley face is fine, just to let me know that you were here. I can see you were here. Or leave a comment down there, and you know, what is your why? If you're doing this, why are you here? I know some of you comment only, and I think that's kind of cool in a way. I can see myself doing that possibly in the future, where I'm just going to be, you know, commenter extraordinaire. And so I know some of you are out there and you don't put videos out there. Maybe are any of you still book blogging, but you don't make videos? I can think of at least one person who does that. She goes way back too. Hi, Memory, if you're watching. Anyway, let's see here. I think that's it. So I'll let you go now. Tell me your whys down below. Talk to y'all later.